And a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, General Manager at WEIU TV and Radio. My co-host is Gerard Singleton.
Good afternoon, Jeff.
Gerard is getting ready to graduate. Only a couple shows left.
Yes, sir.
Today we're going to be talking 5 Mile House here in Charleston. In studio is Dick Hummel, the secretary. Welcome, Dick.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Come on in a little bit closer. And Clark Blitz, the vice president.
That's me. I like it here, too.
All right, guys. Well, we always like to, I guess we don't have to play dumb, but we are kind of that way sometimes. Talk about somebody who doesn't know about what 5 Mile House is. Can you give us a background on what 5 Mile House is?
We consider it to be a kind of a Chautauqua, an old-fashioned school that pictures what life is like in the small town of Charleston. We're not claiming to be famous. In fact, we are the kind of people that you meet every day in society, that your neighbors, not a Neil Armstrong or a Whitney Houston. Anything that you would add to that?
Well, I think all of us involved are historians, private interest historians. We're interested in the history of any place we're at. Wherever I went to live, I'm sure I would have gotten involved in something like this, focusing on the local history of the area. But this, every area has lots of history, of course, but this place is really loaded. Coles County is really a chock full of historical events that I find interesting anyway. And the 5 Mile House is one of the oldest surviving structures in the county, and so it's kind of a marker for our interest in the history of the entire term of Coles County's existence. I think, when did we come into? We came into existence, I think, in 1830. I think that's when we were separated from I think it was Clark County we came from. So, and 5 Mile House has been around almost that long. So, it's kind of a marker, so to speak, in the historical landscape
Of our area, yeah.
Nice. Would you be able to kind of give just for our listening audience a kind of auditory description of the property itself? There's the house, obviously, itself, but anything surrounding of note?
Well, its name tells you where it's at. It's 5 miles south on Highway 130, 5 miles from the Coles County Courthouse. And that was its, I think, the source of its original name. South on 130, it's at the junction of the Westfield Road and Highway 130. And everyone who lives in Charleston has passed it sometime in their travels, I'm sure. And I'm always amazed when I run into somebody who said, "Yeah, I've lived in Charleston all my life, but I've never stopped by there." And obviously, we're doing something wrong or not doing something right in terms of luring people, because we have programs throughout the summer, 7 Sundays, starting Memorial Day and going on through Labor Day. Every other Sunday afternoon, 1 to 4, and we have a program every week that it involves a local music group playing for an hour and a half and a historical topic, a presentation of some kind, as well as vendors of various goods and services, and we have demonstrations of various things going on in the yard. So really, I wish when people go by they would stop and see what all the parked cars are stopped for.
You hit on something interesting there, Dick, when you said that, in Coles County, people maybe not appreciate what we have because we're just so used to being around it. We know it's there, like the Lincoln Log Cabin, all the other things. Have you ever thought of, why that is, or why more local people don't come to places like that?
No. If I had an idea, I would be working on it to terminate it. We're the only, as far as I know, the only privately funded historic site in the county. We get no government funds. We have to raise the money to run our operation by various activities. We have a rental house on the site that generates most of our funds, but we also take donations and we fundraise through fundraising letters once a year. So I don't have more of an answer to that question as to why anybody could live here and not know what we're about. So we hope that this kind of program will do something to shed light on that
That's
on that
correct.
mysterious.
And we're going to start with a program for the school children. The elementary school kids show up at, what's our date? May what?
Well, in fact, it's this coming week Thursday and Friday. It's forecast rain on those days, but we will carry on, as far as I know, anyway, unless there's thunder and lightning. That's one of our main attempts to advertise. We have all the fourth grade students in Charleston come out once a year, and we hope that after their fourth grade experience, they'll remember us and maybe urge their families to come out in the summer, or when they get to be older, remember what we taught them there and come by and see us. So Thursday and Friday, think of us, we'll have 4 classes of fourth graders on the Thursday morning and 4 classes on Friday morning, hopefully getting into their minds and searing their memories with what's available at this place.
What can you give us a little maybe description of kind of the people get a feel for like what all is out there at the 5 Mile House?
Well, there is a 2-room brick stuccoed house, 1 story, that's been there since the 1840s. We believe it's one of the oldest surviving structures in Charleston. It was there real early on in the history of Coles County's development, and part of the puzzle and part of the mystery and part of the attraction is how did it survive? It's not an attractive building. 2 rooms. It's got a kitchen built onto the back of it, but that was added later and was reconstructed when the project was begun. Clark and I are really part of the second generation of its operatives. The first generation, a group of people in 1999, saved the house from destruction. It had been owned for 40 years by a local family, and they passed it on. And I think it would have been a Casey's or some kind of convenience store because it's on the intersection of really 2 roads, and there's a lot of traffic by that. In fact, when you are out there at one of our events, motorcycle noise tends to be distractive at some time, but it really is a busy place. So we think that its location is one reason why it survived. And in fact, I think we could consider it a early day convenience store because of where it is. I think people used to stop there on their way after they'd climbed the hill heading south. There are 3 roads that intersect real close to there, and so people going in any one of 3 different places had to pass that place. It was a great place to stop and water your horse, possibly get some horseshoeing repair if you needed it, possibly get some food. So again, I think it was an early day rest stop.
Like an early rest area.
Yeah.
Yes, an early rest area. Yeah. And I think that's probably why it never really became anything else. There was never a major house built there.
No, but we have added the barn.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just gonna ask.
Oh,
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. So how has it evolved while maintaining that historical kind of integrity that it's had?
Okay. It was rescued from private hands in 1999, and a couple $100,000 were spent restoring it. And then we began the process of trying to develop a program to make it visible to the community. In 2018, we had the opportunity to adopt a barn that was going to be torn down. And, the barn was given to us. And $200,000 later, we got it moved and shrunk and placed on our site. We assumed that the house originally had a barn on it, but there were no surviving structures of its early farm use when we got the place. So the barn was put in a place on the lot, which is a 1-acre lot, put in a place where we assume a barn might have gone. And the barn now, a 30 by 40 structure, is a great place where we hold our music programs, where we hold our public lectures. We have barn dances in there. So it's really become a new a new venue for programs out of the elements. We used to have our programs all out in the yard, and as long as the sun shone and the breezes blew, it was comfortable. But we had been driven indoors in the past before the barn, by rainstorms and threatening weather.
What kind of records are there of the history of the house beginning in the 1830s? I mean, is there stuff that you can look up, or how's that work?
Well, the house is open for visitation, inspections by anybody visiting. After the house was rescued and restored, we developed not a fundraising, but a furnishings donations program, and we got people to donate beds and cabinets and chairs and tables, and so it's currently furnished with original period pieces of the kind of furniture that would have been found in a farmhouse in the 1840s. We believe the house was built in the late 1840s, and in about 1860, the kitchen was added on the back of it.
Backside, yeah.
And in the early 2000s, early 1900s, we believe the cement sheathing was put on the bricks, and so it's gone through. And we believe the porch was added in the early 1900s. It did not come originally with a porch, so. But the furnishings continue to evolve. When people offer to donate something we think would be useful, we do a analysis as to should we keep what we already have or should we move out a piece and make room for the new donation.
That's very cool.
Clark, would there be a way for people who may be interested in helping out with putting on events
most
to get in
certainly.
contact with you all?
In fact, I'm very glad that you asked that question, because one of the things we're looking for is a young person, perhaps here at the college, who wants to remain in Charleston. That we know that quite often that happens. Young people become enamored with the community, want to find a way to stay here.
Clark, I'm going to have you talk more into that mic, my man. Go ahead.
And we hope that this young person would come, be employed in the city of Charleston, and then donate their time to 5 Mile House. And we would very much enjoy that.
We have a couple of opportunities to do that recruitment that Clark mentioned. The EIU Student Volunteer Program that operates a couple of weekends a year has provided workforces to come out and help us do things on the site, clean up the yard and clean the house. And I think we've gotten some people interested because of that. The help from EIU has always been tremendous. Also, several of the athletic teams have come out and helped us with some heavy lifting jobs.
That's good.
So EIU has been very supportive when we ask for help, and we hope that some of them get the bug, get infected with enthusiasm for the place.
Well, Eastern tries to they do really breed a good volunteerism
Excellent,
program.
an excellent program.
instill
I
that
can't
in
say
the
enough about that.
Yeah.
I'd like to give a plug to Delta Zeta sorority recently.
There you
That
go.
was our most
out and helped
that was our most recent labor
Yes.
labor crew, just a couple weekends ago, and they did a tremendous job. I think
What they do.
Oh, yeah.
over
They're
20.
doing-
When they policed the yard, they picked up sticks that were deposited
Yeah.
by the
Storms and
local
stuff.
trees. They spread mulch around trees. We have
We have recently planted several things, and the girls help mulch, that's heavy work, because they shovel the mulch out and then distribute it all around the property.
That's nice.
They helped
nice
us
to have
clean
that
out the barn, getting ready for our upcoming season. So, the DC group was. When I wrote a report of it, I said every year I say that we had the best group ever, but this year I really mean it. We've never had a better group than.
Oh, yeah. They
That's
pulled weeds. I know, heavy duty.
Oh yeah, we have a
good
a
help,
butterfly garden that Clark's wife and my wife maintain, and the crew from Delta Zeta really did a good job of preparing it for its
Yes.
spring emergence.
Yes, they have.
That's cool.
So speaking of butterflies, I want to talk more about that bug that you mentioned. You said people sometimes stay in Charleston and they catch the bug where they're so enamored with the property they continue with it. I'm curious about how did the bug bite you in that sense? What got you interested?
Well, in 1969, my wife and I came to this town for me to work at Eastern. But I didn't get involved in the 5 Mile House until I retired in the year 2000. Someone asked me to do a program in the summer on a topic I was interested in talking about, and I said yes, and I've not been able to say no since. I've been doing it for probably almost 20 years now, and I never seem to run out of topics for the verbal presentations.
Because you're an old radio pro. We were talking about this off mic.
Pro, right?
Pro, yeah.
I mean, I once earned $1.25 an hour
I know.
working at a
Technically
radio
paid.
station. I mean, well, what's not to love about that?
It's just a great story. That's good. I didn't mean to interrupt, but it was just funny how you said that. But you're very good at speaking, and you're and I know.
Well, I was a professor for I talked to live. I live to talk and I talk to live.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
It's a wonderful life.
Is.
It's a great job if you can get it. Some kind of talking job. And again, I've never run out of new topics to talk about or to have people talk about. Like this coming summer, we have a lady who's going to do a first-person interpretation of the mothers of Abraham Lincoln. I think she's going to impersonate both Sarah Hanks? Anyway, Lincoln's mother and then his stepmother. And we've got somebody coming and talking about the Underground Railroad and its routes through Illinois and Missouri. We've got a person who's going to talk about the Charleston cholera outbreak about 1850, which is kind of a specific topic, but it really, if you go to the local cemeteries, the old cemeteries, there's a lot of graves in those cemeteries that were first occupied as a result of this cholera. This gentleman's wife is going to talk about beer brewing. Yeah. She's a brewer. Yes, she is a brewer. We can hardly wait to hear her revelation of her secrets.
There you go. That's nice.
I'm a firearms collector, and I'm going to talk about some historic American firearms in one session. I don't know if anybody will come, but at least it interests me. And we've got a lady at the end of the season who's written a book about Lincoln. I think it's called Loving Lincoln. Anyway, we're going to have her come and talk about her book and what she knows about Abraham Lincoln that we might not already know. So,
speaking of that, I remember the last time we had folks on from the 5 Mile House, and it's been a couple of years, is that they were really, at that time, it might have been Tom Vance and whoever else was in that day, and I cannot remember that person's name. They were really trying to do some research to find out if Lincoln had ever been at the 5 Mile House. Has there been any progress made yet?
No, but we continue to surmise, and it's our story, and we're sticking to it. That the legal circuit, the Eighth Circuit of courts in Illinois, involve Coles County and Cumberland County and Clark County, and it seems logical physically that Lincoln had to pass the 5 Mile House on his monthly circuit to these other county seats. So we don't know. Also, one of the roads that, in fact, doesn't exist anymore, but one of the roads that intersects at the 5 Mile House goes past a couple of persons' farms that we know Lincoln was friendly with. So we don't know how he could have gotten to those farms to visit those friends without passing the 5 Mile House.
So it's not out of the question.
But we haven't found any of his fingerprints or any artifacts that we definitely know.
Which there's no proof that he wasn't there.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so that's our story, and we are sticking to it. We challenge anyone to...
the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
There you go. Nice.
I love that, yes.
But I mean, it's just a cool story because Abraham Lincoln was so ingrained in this part of the area that you figure that by chance he at least went by it, if not stopped.
Well, when you go south of Charleston, you have to cross the Embra on Highway 130. I'm sorry, there are other crossings, the Harrison Street crossing if you're heading off toward Westfield. But going south of Charleston, it's almost certain that and if you were going to the southeast, you would have had to pass the 5 Mile House.
There you go.
So again, an early rest stop,
I say Honest Abe stop there.
Yeah, place to get some vittles when you're on a long journey. But along those lines, is there? I can see the passion you all have for kind of not only maintaining that history, but spreading the word about that history to the
Yes.
community at large. Is there? Do you have a favorite aspect of kind of finding stuff in translation or being like, hey, this is a document or this deed says this, that means, and kind of making those connections? Is there a preferred part of that process for you?
Well, the 5 Mile House is in Charleston Township, but it's right next to, what is the township right next to us?
I have no idea.
Anyway,
Clark, I don't know.
the township right next to us is a township that had a large number of Civil War volunteers, and their history, they were a famous unit in the Union Army. Also, southeast of Charleston, there was a fairly large nest of Southern sympathizers, the Copperheads they were called. And one of the favorite incidents here in Charleston that I have
remember this,
paid
yeah.
attention to is the Charleston riot.
Yep.
In 1864, some Union soldiers on leave came into conflict with some Copperheads, and in fact, there was actually an exchange of gunfire on the Charleston Square, and I think 8, 9, 10 people died as a result of this,
Oh, wow.
and that's one of the
There's that painting, yeah, on the side of the building.
that yes. So also Charleston, it was the scene of one of the early unfortunate forms of violence in our human society. Charleston was the scene of a lynching in 1855. A man killed his father-in-law, and a mob took him from the county jail and hung him high down by the town branch, and that's the Ellington Monroe incident. If you see any of the Coles County histories, that incident is always mentioned there. So what would really have been neat if Abraham Lincoln had been involved in the defense of that case, but his name does not surface in terms of any connection there.
We're talking. Oh, good. I was going to say we're talking to Clark Blitz and Dick Hummel today from the 5 Mile House. Guys, also, I mean, where you're at right now in terms of the house and the barn and the facility, is there plans for any new additions or big changes coming up in the future that people can expect or not?
Not to my knowledge. We're looking for new ideas all the time. In fact, we have a format with our presentation, which involves some historical aspect or a lecture, and then usually singing. And all kinds of singing. We have gospel, popular songs, blues, jazz,
Could I run through a list
Yeah,
of
we have about
Sure
5
thing.
minutes left.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep,
sir.
definitely
Well,
can.
here we have seven sessions and 7 different music groups. On the very first session, we have Motherlode coming to play, and they're a very well-known group locally. In the second session, we have a group from out of town called the Red Hill Dulcimers. It's a group of hobbyists who play the dulcimer, and they come together and serenade us. The third one is a Big Blue Mountain. I don't know if anybody remembers or knows any of these names, but they have been here before. On the fourth session, we have a group called Wild Columbine coming to play. The next group is not a group, but an individual. Jerry Riggers is a bluegrass musician, and he's going to be playing for us. And then a local group, Macville, which has been with us for the last 10, 15 years. They come every year, and we really love them. And the last group is an individual. It's a group, Lunar Halos. People listening may have heard of one or more of these groups, but again, the music group, each session plays for an hour and a half. There's no charge. There's refreshments, seating in the shade with padded chairs. So it's really a chance for the local community to sample the local music talent from. Well, in fact, see, I think at least one of these groups comes as far as Springfield to visit us.
You talk about expenses a lot. Can you give us an idea what it takes to keep the property and keep everything over a year, so people kind of know and they feel if they want to donate?
Yes, well, the music groups are compensated each time for their playing. We have property taxes that are, of course, property taxes are always too high. I don't know if anyone.
Mostly in Coles County. I'll go out and say that. That's fine.
And we have, the electrical bills for running our furnace and our air conditioning in the historic house.
We mow the lawn.
That's that we have a lawn service. Kind of the site is an acre, and so there's a significant lawn to.
Recent maintenance of a septic system.
Yeah.
It just goes on. Well, you're a homeowner, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
Yeah, it never stops.
I was gonna ask, as someone from a more urban area, have there been any like municipal challenges with like building codes or like getting permission to add or take away certain things or develop the land in a way that you see fit?
Well, we'd love to develop a parking lot next door, and we've tried to entice the next door farmer to give us, lease us, sell us an acre of land next to the site. An acre would generate a parking lot that would handle any of our visitor groups. Because now when people visit, they have to park along the road. We do have a parking lot, but it'll only
Pretty limited. Yeah.
possibly 10 cars if they're properly placed.
Yeah.
And everyone doesn't properly place themselves.
We have 1 minute left with Dick and Clark today from the 5 Mile House. Any last words or thoughts? I wanted to talk a little bit, if you know anything, you're also a stop-off point for the California Gold Rush, correct?
That's true. One of the early owners was the Stone family, and they owned it for a period of in the 1840s on through I think the 1860s. They operated a blacksmith shop and possibly an inn, but the 5 Mile House was supposedly a rallying point, a meeting point for heading to the gold fields in 1849. And we love those stories. And what more can I say other than
That's cool.
Pretty interesting, honestly.
Well, Dick and Clark, you were worried about whether we were going to get through the show. We got plenty of stuff we could have kept going. So thanks for coming in, guys. We appreciate it.
Great conversation.
Thanks for having us.
We are
WEIU.